My name is David Campany, and I've been a lover of photography in all its forms since I was a teenager. It was actually cinema I loved first, and it was actually film stills I liked most. I became a writer, and later an editor of photobooks, an educator, and a curator of exhibitions. But really the book is the kind of central place for me. One of the photographers that means the most to me is Walker Evans, but at the beginning, he didn't mean anything to me at all. You can't pick up a book about the history of photography without being told Walker Evans is an important figure. When people first see those pictures, they're a little perplexed. What's the big deal here? Many photographers speak of having a kind of unfolding relationship with his work that is very understated, kind of unflashy way, is something that draws you in. I mean, there's barely been a more influential book. I remember first seeing that, having been told that it was this extraordinary book and not really understanding it. But now I've looked at it so often and it means so much to me that I can tell you which picture is on the next page from the beginning to the end of that book. I will keep looking at that book, and I've no doubt my views will change in another 5 years or 10 years. You know, when you like something, you want to tell yourself, I get it, you know. There's an it, and I get it. But I think the most interesting books, there's not an it to get. You just feel yourself appreciating something, but in an open-ended way. So that's American Photographs from 1938. Best book there's ever been.
Is that your favorite one?
Yeah. Looking at a new photo book for the first time is very special. I know how difficult books are to make, so I have a respect for that. So it has a weight to it, has a texture to it, it's visual, it's tactile, paper has a smell, inks have a smell. I think there's a kind of intensity that comes with a one-on-one relation that you have with a book. You're asking yourself, what do I make of this? It's not obvious, I think, what photographs mean. They're mute and they're static, so they show, but they don't explain. You can make a photograph of somebody sneezing, but it will never tell you how they caught the cold. I think the interesting thing about having the photographs first and then the writing about them afterwards is it makes you think about exactly what a photograph does and doesn't communicate. Any photograph is ambiguous. Any photograph has multiple meanings, possibilities, intentions, uses. Often a caption is there to narrow the bandwidth, tell you what you're looking at, tell you what's significant. All the things that the photograph itself can't communicate on its own, but might lead you to want. And that's why photographs and writing have grown up with each other. I think for a lot of photographers, the book is the primary form. It's where they can express themselves the most completely. I think if you make a book, it might sound pompous, but you are thinking of something that will last. You're thinking of posterity. Websites come and go. Magazines get discarded. If you make a book, it's there for the record, for good or bad. I think some books you can come to know and appreciate in the space of half an hour, something like that, and maybe you would return to them later. Other books need more of a commitment from you. I can certainly say that about this book, which I think is one of the most ambitious books of the last half century. Susan Meiselas' name is on the front. In a way, she is the facilitator of this project. Kurdistan was a country. It was divided up by the victorious powers at the end of the First World War, and as a result, there was a kind of stateless, persecuted people whose state archive was either destroyed or dispersed. She coordinated an enormous effort to gather existing material in order to reconstitute it as almost like a Kurdish national archive. When I first got the book, I knew I had to commit time to it, and I came out of it a different person. Every time I look at the book, I remember not knowing it. Can't imagine my understanding of photography without this book. We live in a culture that has quite a strict hierarchy of values. So it puts things like museums and galleries at the top. Books are clearly lower down but important. Magazines and maybe the website down there in the mud of culture. But the interesting thing about photography is it completely scrambles that hierarchy. And some of the greatest works in photography are books. Culturally, their value is as important as, a kind of masterwork of which there might be a single print at the Museum of Modern Art or in the collection of ICP. I went to see an exhibition of the work of Robert Frank in Paris once, and people were standing 4 and 5 deep waiting to look at prints from The Americans, the project that he shot on the road in the US in the mid-50s. And I saw this young couple getting frustrated. They couldn't get a look at these prints. So they sat down on a bench in the middle of the space. They got completely engrossed in Robert Frank's book. And in a way, that was the best way to see that work. The work is not really the prints on the wall. Robert Frank's statement is that book of those photographs in that sequence. You can buy it. It's part of your library. It's part of your life. That's its value. This is The Decisive Moment by Henri Cartier-Bresson. Here we have the famous picture behind the Gaz Saint-Lazare from 1932. The man jumping the water with his heel nearly meeting his reflection. In fact, the whole image is built on these reflections, doublings, mirrorings. But then we have another almost silhouetted figure on the page opposite, also with a hat. But now the figure is static, standing absolutely still. It could be that they were both taken on exactly the same shutter speed. But here we feel the shutter of the camera because someone is moving through it. So each picture stands on its own, but it benefits from the contrast across the spread. This is a very famous book, Nan Goldin's The Ballad of Sexual Dependency. Very much a sort of autobiographical book about her life and friends within kind of artistic and bohemian circles in the 70s and early 80s. I learned a lot about how books are edited by studying this one. One photograph has certain meanings and resonances. Your eyes then move to another, and we are connection-seeking mammals. So you give a person one photograph and another, 1 + 1 is 3, as they say in the world of editing. And if a book sustains that all the way through, something very cumulative happens. But the book, I think, maybe because of the internet now, has an even more special place, because it does represent something material and fixed. Photographs on the internet are very promiscuous, wandering things. A book, if you take it seriously, you've got a lot of control, and you're able to do something that's more than the sum of its parts. There are books I've been looking at fairly regularly for all my adult life. They are a measure of me to an extent. When we return to them, they stay the same. We've changed a little bit or a lot.